A very good morning to all the viewers, future great citizens of India and the world, people who are going to be leaders in profession, corporates, students. Many times we think that problem solving skills only some people have. We look at some people who are always giving wonderful solutions. They don't get it just like that. They have been doing it for decades, maybe. Can this be built? Is it something I get from my grandparents and my parents? My answer is no. We can build and improve on problem solving skills, which is essential for professional success, even career success. Let's look at what it is. When is problem solving sought? When people want problems to be cleared, they want some solution for the things which are impacting them negatively. In profession, it is for getting expert opinion. They think that you, who is the professional who is specialized in it, can give them an expert opinion. So they need not rely on themselves because you know much more about it. Sometimes it is only support in challenging situations. Sometimes in the area of GST, the Director General Revenue Intelligence has entered their office. They are getting scared. They want some support in that situation, how to deal with that person. Sometimes they already know the answer and they are thinking of taking a particular direction. They want that direction to be validated by you. They want you to say, yes, this is correct, because you are capable of looking at it from different points of view. While doing this data validation, you may also come to a conclusion that what direction they are going is not correct. That is also possible. Most times, everybody is in business for making money. So they want to control costs so that their profit will increase. So they come to you and say, can I do this, which will bring down my cost? Can I do this so that it will increase my sale price and increase my margin? In tax, is this the right tax I'm paying? Is there any better option available to me? Am I availing all the tax credits? I'm exporting goods. Can I get back the tax? Can I get any incentive on this? Tax optimization planning. That could be a reason why they come to a person like me. I'm taking my example here. Dispute avoidance. The larger concerns, the people who have thousands of crores turnover, they may be more scared about a demand tomorrow with penalty and interest, which will erode their profit substantially. They want to see that they take action such that disputes do not come at all. They want to be safe rather than sorry. Sometimes what happens, disputes do arise. Then they want a prompt resolution as soon as possible with as less cost as possible. Can I resolve this dispute? Problem solvers come to professionals because of that. Michelle Gelb says, life is a continuous exercise in creative problem solving. So he's saying even in normal life, can I creatively solve the problems which are coming along rather than responding in the same way as I receive? Somebody says that you have not done this job properly, and I retort, that's what I'm capable of. You didn't clearly tell me. That is not going to solve the problem. What would creative problem solving be? Give me some time, boss. 2 days, 1 day. I will think and get back to you, and then get back to him and say, I think I did not do this job well. I could do it better if I do the following things. What do you think? Can you give me another chance? Now what happens? The impact of this is greater responsibility will be given to you, and they will have respect for you, because you are not simply blaming somebody, denying that that particular job is your responsibility. So how do we do this? There are a couple of ways in which we can do. All are cousins actually. Critical thinking. What is critical thinking? The ability to examine an issue objectively. Not that this should not have happened to me. Cha! Not like that. Look at it objectively. What is the problem? And independently. It might have happened to you, but think, if it had not happened to you, if it happened to somebody else, what? Arriving at a logical conclusion based on updated knowledge about that particular issue. Maybe if it is something to do with law or tax, based on research. So if I want to develop my critical thinking, how I should do it? Whatever I assume, whenever I come to any conclusion, there are a lot of assumptions, presumptions, past. Look at all that assumption and look at what is the fact. Question the assumptions. Can it not be like this? Can it not be different? Evaluate the evidence. Look at the facts. Don't just assume it is there. If the facts are not enough, ask for more details. Maybe getting more details will give you a better idea how to deal with it. Don't only go with one point. Whenever we do any opinions in our office, we say prepare a kernel. A kernel is the heart of the working of opinion, where we say, let's look at all the alternatives. Don't just decide, okay, I got a solution to this. No, look at 5 other solutions. They may be lesser or more effective. Write it down. Diverse perspectives, different angles to the same thing. Develop a habit of fact checking. Many times what is told and what is there in the document can be different. For example, in our audit, we have seen the client will tell us something. When we look at the invoice says something little different. When we look at the agreement is totally different. If we talk to the client of the auditee, he has a totally different view. There are 4 views. What is the fact? What is real? Therefore, fact checking becomes very important. Sometimes if we discuss things with the juniors, seniors, and of course, many times if you are having a lot of doubt, complex situation, maybe we should consult our seniors and have a debate with them. Tell them this is what I'm thinking. These are the things against me and these are the things for my argument. They may add a few more. Maybe it will become clear. But this habit of questioning everything, asking why not, confirming the basis of whatever has happened, taking out inputs from outside sometimes is very useful. In fact, when I was practicing 20 years back, I had article clerks. Even now we have interns, they're trainees, but some of them would ask a question. And initially I might have told them, don't bother about it. But later I was thinking, then I would call them and ask them, why did you say this? And I would be surprised. My opinion itself changed because of that intern or that trainee, because they are able to creatively think. They are not bound by so many things we bind ourselves with. So critical thinking is going beyond your normal ways, forcing yourself to question everything you think is the truth or the correct way. Look at alternatives. Analytical thinking. Analytical thinking, I said all of these are cousins to each other, involves dissecting complex issues into smaller, manageable components. So analyze, break it up. How they analyze a particular drug. They break it into all their components. What are the chemicals which go into this? What are the extracts which go into this? They will look at each of them and then each of them they individually look at. In case we can do that, we can give comprehensive solutions to complex problems. Let me look at advice to a startup. Startups, a lot of startups coming up in India. How an analytical thinker would break down the request. Startup wants to know how they can comply with the laws of complex laws of India. That's what they're asking. Which is the best way for us forward? This is what they're asking. So what we do, we first break that issue into what all are the laws which are affecting it, what all are the regulations. Maybe income tax is applicable, maybe regulation, SEBI is applicable, maybe FEMA is applicable, money going out and coming in, maybe indirect tax, GST is applicable. Find out what are all the taxes which could be applicable first, just list it down. Then, of course, look at what is the impact of each tax law. It becomes much easier. What is the structure of the startup today? What is the financial structure? How much of debt is there? How much of equity is there? How much of funding is there? We look at everything. How much of bank finance is there? Look at many things. If I look at all of them, then I can evaluate what is the risk and reward in each of them. Look at each transaction the startup is doing. Look at all the angles like we did for critical thinking. By critical thinking, I would say. Analyze the tax implication of each of the options we are coming to, whether it's financial structure or it is a transaction structuring. Consider all the risk factors and what are the mitigation strategies for each. Then marry all these into one advice. That is what would be analytical thinking. Basically involves break up. On the top of it, it looks very, very daunting. We may not know everything. In case we don't know anything, we'll take advice from an expert in that area. For example, I don't know financial structuring. What is the best way? But I have a friend who has been practicing this for 20 years. I'll go to him and ask him. For him, it's joke. It is like me giving advice in GST. He can give advice in financial structuring. I'll take his advice. And then I will weave everything and give it to the startup. To enhance analytical thinking, as we said earlier, we'll break it into manageable parts. There are a lot of tools available. You Google it, you'll get it. Mind maps, flow charts, which can show us exactly where the problem is. Tools are very useful. Develop a systematic approach to gathering and organizing information. This is very important. There's a lot of information in the universe. Don't start picking up irrelevant information. So you get all the information, sieve the information, only take the ones which are relevant. And then regularly review and refine your problem solving process. We will come to one particular method in which we can solve the problem. I'll do A, B, C, D, E. Normally we have a checklist approach. For each small thing, we have a checklist. For example, if somebody comes to us saying that I have a problem with the department, they have made a demand on me, then I have a checklist for how to reply to the show cause notice. Then I have a checklist for how to attend the hearing, what to do in the hearing. Then I have a checklist, how to file an appeal. How to file an appeal, I have a part which says how to file a paper book. That means how will you give the document along with what annexures in which way, order, so that it is easy for the judge to have a look at it. So when we do this type of activities again and again, any problem comes, we'll go back to it. Say, for example, today I have to do something new. I'll first think, why not make a checklist? Let me make an initial checklist. And as I do this 3-4 times, my checklist will become good. And then it can become fantastic. When we are not able to solve problems with critical thinking or analytical thinking, we may need something new, something different, which is called divergent thinking. When other things have failed to solve the problem, we might have to look at this. What does this involve? What it involves is go back to what is the problem, what is behind the problem, what was the objective, what was the law, what was the rule, what was the intention of the legislature. Look at underlying premise of the current understanding, which is not helped us. So look at the underlying premise and see whether those are being met. So what we call go back to basics. Constitution of India, for example, is the most important law of India. So if I am checking indirect tax law or GST, I should see whether it is in line with the provisions of the Constitution in India as relevant to GST. Today I'm thinking GST law only. Go back, go to the Constitution. Maybe there is some solution there, and there will be sometimes. We have found it quite often. One more thing is that the provisions, when they are written, the intention is not there everywhere clear. The law itself may not be clear. When we read it many times, we start getting new thoughts, new ways of looking at it. Yesterday, we had a training session for our new joinees in our office, and my partner from Pune, Ravi, he said, when I read initially a provision in input tax credit, I got a certain view. After 6 months, I got a different view. After that, after 1 year, I got a different view. Same provision, no change. So now when I read with an open mind, not with the thought that this is what it means. Don't start with that. Just read it and see what comes to your mind. That's a good way of coming up with divergent thoughts. One more way is when somebody has opposed it. For example, there are a lot of decisions which are there in regard to the issue which you are trying to examine. Don't look at favorable judgments. Look at contrary judgments. And look at trying to find out whether that contrary judgment, why it is correct. Even though it is not favorable to you, examine it in great detail. Then it can give you a particular way of looking and resolving the problem. Identify possible gaps in the decision. We have seen sometimes the courts will give a decision. We assume that the court knows everything. But the court is only influenced by who are the lawyers and how well they articulate, whether they disclose everything, whether they give all relevant points, whether they have studied all the judgments, even contrary ones. So there can be a mistake. Everybody is human. I am listening to two different lawyers and then I decide as a judge. I may not know that law. I may be great in some other law, not the law I am deciding on. And therefore, look at inconsistencies. If there are inconsistencies, there is a gap in the judgment, examine that. Maybe the solution will be there. Best way to do all of this is in discussion mode with seniors or people who have different thinking. And attending seminars where they have panel discussions where they purposely bring different thinking people to the same stage so that they argue amongst themselves. That will give us a good idea about different ways of thinking, not the way which we are used to, not the way we have assumed is the right way. How do we take it further? Whatever assumptions I have made, whatever beliefs I have, let me assume it's not right. I may be wrong if I think, then challenge it. I have thought that this is the way it should be. Challenge it. Why? What if it is not? Look at, embrace or encourage people to give opposite opinions. In fact, there is a way of thinking called six hats, where every issue is looked at by everybody in a particular way. Everybody looks at the positives, everybody looks at the negatives, everybody looks at the challenges, everybody looks at it, whether it's practical. Then they sit together and brainstorm and come to an understanding of that particular way of looking at it. Brainstorming is listen to everybody, put the problem, let people discuss. Now remember, this should not degenerate into simply giving information. It should be deep thinking, but let people not be stopped. Let them give any solution. And sometimes you'll be shocked. The wonderful solution comes from the person who you least expect it from. Everybody should be able to ask you questions. Just because you are the boss does not mean that your junior cannot ask you a question. Let him ask. So if he's part of the group, encourage them to ask constructive questions. They may be silly, but take patience, answer it. Because this is a conducive professional environment which will create leaders, great thinkers with divergent thinking, critical thinking, analytical thinking. It's not you who is the king of all. All the people working in your office, partners, the managers, all of them have equal potential, maybe even better than you. Remember that and have this culture. Creative thinking. Actually, they say there are two parts to the brain. One part of the brain is creative. It does not go logically. So how do you bring creative thinking in? Of course, I find that some of at my age, creative thinking, I find a little difficult. Though I have been coming up with solutions sometimes creatively when no other solution is available. But I don't think I'm really creative. I'm too old to be creative is what I think. Maybe I'm wrong. Look at it from imagination and innovation. The normal logic, throw it aside. So it also requires regular brainstorming sessions. Look at it from different angles. Ask this question to others. For example, my engineering friend sometimes gets one solution from me, though I am not an engineer, I have never studied engineering. And I get some thinking which is so clear. He's so clear because he's not muddled up like me in what I have to tell. Cross-disciplinary, that means people from other disciplines other than chartered accountants. For example, in our office very early, we realized that advocates come with different thinking. So we encourage taking of advocates. We had study sessions in which 50% advocates, 50% others were there. The other way of looking at it is encourage it by having some rewards. Somebody gives a good suggestion. Have a suggestion reward. Whenever innovative ideas come, give them the credit. And maybe even some part of your earning if you have earned from that innovative idea. That's an environment which everybody wants to give ideas. Support them. Be open. Remember, we are not the ultimate in understanding. There is so much in this world which we don't know. Somebody else may have an idea which I have never thought of, and that can be helpful. However, this requires a certain type of being. It cannot come just by hard thinking, spending hours together on the issue. You will not get creative thinking. You may get it maybe if you do mindfulness or you do meditation, something suddenly one idea comes. Where it comes from, we don't know, but it's a solution to the problem which we could not get a solution through analytical thinking, critical thinking, divergent thinking, we couldn't get. But we got it out of the blue through creative thinking. One of the ways you can solve your problem, you can increase your problem solving is by asking right questions. Actually, I realized this lately, not earlier. You know, when you do Google search or you use artificial intelligence, Chat GPT, for example, if you keep on asking a question properly, then you will come to a solution. In fact, I think I saw one of our senior assistants, chartered accountant from Gurgaon, Pooja Jajwani. I saw her put an article on LinkedIn how she solved a classification problem with Chat GPT, artificial intelligence. She asked some question, gave an answer, she asked some more specific questions. Finally, she got an answer from Chat GPT. Your conclusion is correct, after asking 6 different questions. I was amazed that Chat GPT can, uh, come to such a great thinking, because that question, if she had asked me, I would have taken about 1 hour to come to the same conclusion. But Chat GPT gave it to her in 15 minutes. She kept on asking the questions and it gave it. And the answer was correct. I looked at the answer also and it was correct. So in practice, how can we integrate all these problem solving skills? Simple. Use analytical thinking to break down complex issues. Apply critical thinking to evaluate alternative possible solutions. Employ divergent thinking to challenge assumptions and explore what are the alternatives, even if they sound very stupid. Leverage creative thinking to develop innovative approaches to come to new answers to unsolvable problems. Will we be able to solve all problems in which we come across? Maybe not, but maybe we can reach 990 out of 1000. So, what skill is key to navigating challenges in the workplace? Think about it and give your answer. So problem solving skill seems to be very good. And remember, problem solving is not only for the workplace or the profession, which I took an example of. It can be even in your normal everyday life. So thank you very much for spending your time with me. There's an article on each of these types of thinking in the description, which gives much more information. Please do have a look at it, and happy to wish you clear and problem solving thinking.